How many of you small business owners out there are struggling to hire skilled labor, unskilled labor, entry level people? You're experiencing a lot of turnover. We're experiencing a lot of vacancy in job roles. Well, today I'm going to tell you how you can solve that problem. Welcome to the Key Hire Small Business Podcast, where we cover the issues that help owners scale their small business. I'm Corey Harlock, creator of Key Hire, where we grow Texas business with our talent, and I'll be your host. We don't have a guest today, so you just have me. What I want to talk about, and a lot of things in the past I have worked with some of my owners on, is creating a pipeline for entry level or skilled labor. So I'll go back to an example that happened a number of years ago. It was a fire and life safety company, and they were looking for technicians. And at that time, there really seemed to be a glut in the market for technicians. They were kind of really experienced, 35 years of age and older, or they were 18 to 22, and there was no one in that kind of 5 to 10 years of experience, which everyone seemed to want. And so the only thing they could do was pay for the experience, or they could have created their own kind of pipeline. Another example I share with you is working with one of my clients in a warehouse and distribution center, and they were having trouble finding hourly employees as well. So we created a plan for them, how to create a pipeline. And that's what I want to talk to you today about, how to create that pipeline. And it takes a little effort. But as everything we do at Key Hire, we want to put the effort in up front over here, and then kind of have all the good stuff flow through. And once we put the effort in up front, we don't waste any time on dealing with the bad stuff, right? It could be in terms of a hiring process or a talent acquisition process. We do all the work up front, so only the best people flow through, and we don't spend 90% of our times ejecting people out of our hiring process because they don't have what we need. So we're going to talk about that, but I want to kind of clarify a few points first. There are still more jobs than there are people to fill them, and there are fewer younger people than there are older people. We have a population that is shrinking at the younger years. So when we're looking for these entry level, low skill, no skill, high skill positions, we have to understand, and we talk about this all the time, you are always competing with someone else. And 25 cents an hour means a lot to someone making 15 bucks an hour. And we do have a bit of a glut in some of these skilled labor, where we have a really mature workforce on one end of it and a really young workforce on the other end. The other thing to understand is, swiping with a broad brush here, but there are two kinds of businesses. There are the businesses that bring people in, are great at recruiting, creating a pipeline, and training them, only to have the other kind of company with the deep pockets come in and pay them more and pull them out of your business. This happens all the time. Raise your hand if this has happened to you. This is the biggest thing I hear from small business owners, because they can't afford to pay what the big guys pay. But there are a few things that matter. And one of them is the culture of the company, the relationship you have with the people, but also providing a path forward for the individual. We also have to understand, some people don't want more responsibility. Some people want to check in, do their 40 hours, do their job, go home, not have you call them on the weekend because the fire alarm went off, any of that stuff. Those people are worth their weight in gold. People that just want to do the job, they're low drama, high output, high quality workers that just do their job. They're very valuable. Oftentimes our challenges, because they're good, we want to promote them and put them into a position of leadership or supervisory role, because they show up on time, because they know our business, they know how to run all the machines, because they're responsible, they have a good safety record, all of that stuff, but they might not want it. And that's a conversation you have to have. But some people want to have a career progression. They want to know, where do I go from here? When I join this company, yeah, I can pay my bills today, but I want more. Just got off an interview with a client today, and when my business owner asked him, what do you want? What's your next 5 or 10 years? And he said, I don't want to be stagnant. I want to grow. I want to know I have opportunities to move up in this company, and I want to be at a leadership or a director level role in the next 10 years. That's not everyone, but that's some people. So we have to understand the first thing, that everyone has a different view of what success looks like for them. And that's kind of managing your individuals and talking to people and understanding what you want to get out of this relationship. As small business owners, we fall into kind of category A. We're great at bringing people in the business, training them up, and it always happens right when you think you have the perfect team, everything's going great. That great operator or skilled person, technician, comes in and says, I hate to do this, but I'm resigning. And then you come to find out one of the big companies has come and made them an offer you wouldn't be able to match, or given them a signing bonus or something that's just beyond what we can do. So if we're in that situation, that's okay. We just have to understand we're in that situation. We can't pretend to be. If you want to play the poach game, the steal employees game, that gets really, really expensive. So the most affordable and effective method of building up your skilled workforce is this. And I'll give you a couple examples, but we'll kind of rough out what a process might look like. So if it's a technical position, build a relationship with a couple technical schools where people are coming out. Have internships. Have people come and do work placements in the summer. Start giving them exposure to what you're doing. But the next thing you want to do is, when you hire them, you want to be able to create a map for them of what their future will look like working in your company. And so when you bring them in, you might say, we're going to bring you in as and let's use a tech role for whatever business it might be. We're going to bring you in as a tech 1 or tech in training, and we're going to pay you X. And once you finish your training, that should be a 3, 6, 9, 12-month program, whatever it might be. You'll then be promoted to tech 1, which is pretty simple. And we're going to give you a pay raise. Now, to get to tech 2, here are the things you need to be able to do. And we think it should take you 9 to 12 months to accomplish that and be able to check it all off. And so now they understand, what do I need to be working towards and training for to get to tech 2? And once you can prove to us and pass your test that you know all those skills, we make you a tech 2. It can't be earlier than 9 months, but we'd like to see it in 9 to 12 months. And then you get another pay raise. And then you need to learn these skills. And then once you're done that should take you X amount of time. You go to tech 3 raise, learn these skills, and you become a tech 4. Sounds great. Sounds simple. I'm sure a lot of you have that built into your business. But here's one of the kickers. A lot of your senior techs, if you ask them to train someone, they generally say, I'm not interested. So how do we get people to train? Well, what you do is you make training techs your highest person on your ladder. You put them at the top of the hierarchy. They make the biggest hourly rate than any of your other techs. And every time their trainee passes an assessment and gets promoted, they get incentivized. So if they're training 1 or 2 people, well, every 6, 9, 12 months, they might be getting a $500, $1,000, $1,500 spot bonus because they trained that person in the right time, the right skills, and now that person is a more valuable tech to you. So both sides are winning here. The new person in your business sees the path and knows exactly what they have to work on, and they can check those boxes and they can start earning. Their earning potential goes up. And we're not giving them a 50-cent raise. If this is a skilled labor person, they're making good money. Now they're making better money. They're improving their station in life. They're improving their standard of living. They're better able to provide for their family. But you also have those senior, crusty people that didn't want to train before. Well, maybe they do want to train now because they might be able to add a few $1,000s extra into their annual earnings. Plus, they're making more money. They're making a higher premium because they are a trainer, and they kind of get the choice opportunities. And if they don't want to be a trainer, that's cool. They're just your senior tech, they're tech 4, tech 5, whatever you want to call them. And they are where they are, and they get their annual increases, whatever it is, 5, 3, 5, 7%, whatever you do. Sounds simple. So let's kind of put this into practicality. The fire and life safety company we talked about. Again, we partnered with the school where there was people where they had technical programs, and we started kind of building that relationship and getting people to come over for internships or right out of school. We would offer them a job, right? And that was exactly the progression. They would go through their different tech roles, and then we were able to incentivize some of the older techs who said, I don't want to train, these people slow me down. But now you attach a dollar value to it. Now they're excited and happy to train. Give me some more trainees. Let's go, because I'm understanding what that value is and how much money I can make. The other side, on the warehousing side, what was interesting for the warehouse and distribution company is they have a super niche-y, unique, cool business, but it's very process driven. And so we couldn't really, there's no school program that aligned very well with what they do. But what we knew was they were very process driven. We knew they were Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, 9 to 5, nice steady schedule, good work environment. And so what we had to do is, okay, how can we work a progression that would excite someone to come and work here? And within their kind of distribution centers, they have 4 or 5 different roles in there. And they come in and maybe you're kind of just doing inventory and stocking. And then next you might be doing some working the front desk, some customer service. Then you might be doing some more technical work around their core products and on and on. So we kind of developed what is a fair wage for those people to come in. And once they learn the ins and outs of that role, they get moved into the next role, nice little increase. Once they learn that role, they move, nice little increase. Next thing you know, you have a distribution center with 4 employees who are all cross-trained in every category, every department. They can just put them on a rotation, which is fun for them if that's what they like, but they get to do something different every week maybe, or every month, or however you want to set that up. But the challenge for us was, what we were thinking was, how are we going to find the people that are going to want this job? And because it was a process-driven opportunity, we came up with quick service restaurants. And the reason we came up with quick service restaurants was twofold. Number one, if I'm working at McDonald's and I'm making a Big Mac, I have to follow a process. Everything that goes out of the drive-through window or across the counter at McDonald's was created, using a process. And so we started thinking, okay, well, they're going to understand how to follow a process, which is great. And they're not used to making a ton of money, and they're used to being really busy and working really hard. But the other thing that we thought was interesting was they work really bad schedules. They work weekends, they work Friday night, they work Saturday night. Well, the rest of the world is off. Hospitality people are working because that's all the people that work the 9 to 5 jobs are out having dinner or grabbing something to eat or going out. So we thought, well, maybe this is a hook. Maybe this is a way to entice people to say, hey, do you want to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and have a clear career path within our company? And we're going to pay you probably more than you're already making. And every 6 to 9 months, we're going to give you an increase until you know everything. And then you're going to be potentially a leader within our company. So that's another way to think outside the box. So if you are a small business owner and you're fighting this battle, first thing you need to do is understand if you have a machine shop, that's very process driven, right? There's lots of safety procedures. There's lots of knowledge around running the machine. It's hot. It can become a very skilled position. People that are really good at running their machines are worth their weight in gold. And if they were to ever come in and hand you their resignation, that might hurt your business a bit. So I would encourage you to start thinking about how to build that pipeline. And the other thing that we haven't talked about is, we might hire one person and put them into training, but if one person quits, we're no further ahead. In fact, we might be a bit behind, because if that person who's in training is, only so far through the process, but we lose a senior person, that could hurt our business a bit. So what we want to do is look at our attrition rate and say, okay, so I hired over the last year, we hired 5 people. We had 5 people quit, which isn't an indictment on the business owners, just the way the market is. People might be stealing them away from you. So what I would encourage you to do is hire 8 people. And then if 5 people quit, you still have 3 extra people. And always hire, always be bringing people in, work with those school cycles. Twice a year, you could be bringing in 3 or 4 people on a training cycle. And if you find people throughout the year that aren't coming out of a school that look like they might be a good fit for you, hire them anyway and bring them in and get them up in their training. But you want to be building that pipeline with volume, but also with a vision of exactly what's going to happen and what it's going to take. I want to know, if I hire someone to be a technician in my company with 0 experience today, how many months is it going to take before I can have them on a job and making me money? And the answer probably is not 1 or 2, but maybe 3, 6, 9 months. I don't know what that is, but you want to make sure you have a steady. You don't want to get to 6 or 9 months and have your senior tech come and say, "Yeah, this person's not going to cut it." You want to know that after the first that first deadline. You have 9 months to learn all this. If they don't learn it, you have 9 to 12 months. At 12 months plus a day, you should be looking at that person saying, okay, are they the right people for us? Because if they can't get through the training and they can't learn those basic steps, do we want to keep investing in them? And maybe it's just not their jam. Maybe they just aren't cut out for that, and that's okay. But you don't want to be dragging people through the process. You want to know, if you're putting people out on your job sites or on one of your machines or in one of your warehouses, that they're going to be a good or great performer, and they're going to be well trained, and they're going to understand what the company needs them to do and how to do it safely. So those are just some simple ideas around building that pipeline and measuring it, right? If they don't cut it after the first barrier, they probably aren't going to be right for you. If someone poaches one of these people away, that's okay. We have more coming up behind. If you can't partner with a school or a tech program or something like that, look at other industries that you may not initially think align, but they are training people on essentially the same things you would be training them on. I go back to the warehouse and distribution center. It was all process driven. And when I thought quick service restaurants, that's all everything they do is process. Everything, the way they ring your order in, the way they make your food, the way they hand you your food, the way they take inventory, the way they count their cash at night, the way they do their accounting, the way they close, the way they open. Everything is a checklist. Everything is a process. When you have, a couple thousand stores around the United States, you want to make sure everyone's doing it the same way. So that was an interesting kind of industry that kind of niched in well with what we're doing. So look for other industries that maybe offer worse hours than you. Maybe they don't offer the same benefits as you. If you have a great benefit program, or the flexibility that you do, but you need to find something that you can offer them to kind of get them away and interested in your company beyond the career path. We're going to give you a career path And guess what? You don't have to work Friday nights or Saturday nights or anything like that anymore. Before I wrap up, I'll share one final story with you, which is just another way to look at the jobs and look at the people you have in your business. And this is a really silly example, but it means something. I'm Canadian, used to live up in Calgary. And when I was up in Calgary, I was doing a talk, and there was a guy who owned the local newspaper, and he was beating the drum we've always been beating. And man, I'm going back 16, 17 years ago. And he was still talking about this younger generation. They don't have the work ethic. And he said, I'm trying to hire these kids for my warehouse to sling papers around and bundle papers. And, they only last a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months, and no one wants to stay. So I asked the business owner, I said, who were the best employees you ever had in the warehouse? And he said, well, I used to have these 2 older guys, but they both retired. I said, interesting. How long did they work with you? He said, oh, they were with me for like 10 years. I'm like, why are you hiring teenagers? And he said, because it's hard work. It's dirty. No one wants to do that work. And I said, well, apparently these guys did for like 10 years. And he said, yeah, but it was too hard. The work's too hard for older guys like that. Like, they were getting ready to retire. And I said, well, apparently not. But I said to him, what if you changed your mindset and said, yeah, maybe this is my demographic. And your sales pitch was, are you retired? You want a part-time job where you can get a little physical activity, a little workout in, and make enough money to pay your green fees, and you can be on the golf course by noon every day. How would that work? And it did work, right? That's what he went to, and he ended up with people that he was able to hire, and they did a great job for him. And I don't know how long they were with him because we moved away. And then I saw, just by circumstance, one of his other ads, and he was looking for delivery kids to deliver the paper. And the ad was, hey, are you a school kid who wants to earn some extra money to buy hockey cards and ice cream? We got a great job for you, right? You'll be done every day by get out of school at 3:30. You'll be done by 4:30, and you'll have enough money to go have some fun and go to the arcade, whatever it is. So he took that whole idea and ran with it. So that's what we kind of have to do, is find your niche, find who you're trying to hire, create that progression clearly and detailed. So the employee can say, go to their trainer and say, hey, I need to learn this so I can move up. And, I have 4 weeks to learn this before my 9 months is up. How can we squeeze this into my training? Because I want to make sure I check that box, get my raise, get my promotion, get you your bonus, all that good stuff. Then on the back end of that, you have it all mapped out. It's crystal clear. We know exactly what we need to learn and how much we're going to make and when it's going to happen. And then on the back side of that, you have your senior guys who understand exactly what they need to teach, what timelines they need to teach that in, and when they do it successfully, how much money they're going to make. I think that's good motivation for these guys. They're always looking for a way to improve. Everyone wants to improve their standard of living. Everyone wants to make a little more money. So if you take your best people, treat them very well, you take your people that are coming in and clearly outline what their next 4 or 5 years look like in your company. The other thing we didn't talk about is your staff retention. A lot of times a small business owner will say to me, they'll look at a resume and say, well, this person only stays at a job for 4 or 5 years at a time. And I might say to them, what's your average tenure? And they would say, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I'm like, okay, well, that's 20% better than your current. We're not hiring people for life. We don't bring them in and expect them to retire with us. And the other thing, clear kind of guidelines we need to set is, what is a successful hire in terms of tenure? And if you look at average tenure, some companies do really well with it. Some people have quick turnover. There's a lot of reasons. That's a whole other podcast. But what I would challenge you to do is, if you look at your techs, if the average life of your tech in your business is 5 years, then put these guys on put these people coming in on a 5-year plan. And then if people are offering them more money to join, and they're going and saying, well, hold on, these guys have me on this path. What does your path look like? Well, I don't know. You just come in here, you work every year, we'll give you a raise, and then we might boost you up. We don't know. We don't have a train. We don't have anything like that. That might be the difference maker for someone to say, I think I'm going to stay here. I might not make as much money here today, but in 5 years, I know I will. I'll make more money than you might be able to pay me. Or these guys have a plan for me. This business is investing in developing me. Everything works in your favor once you can do this and lay it out. The big guys are still going to come calling. They're still going to be able to offer more money, but build a pipeline. 1.5x your needs so you can accommodate for loss. Make sure your trainers are happy and taken care of. Make sure your trainees have a clear path to what their future looks like. And then look at your tenure, your average tenure, and set your goal. I mean, maybe it's 3 years and you say, great, we need to increase this to 4 years. If you could keep everyone in your business 1 year longer, that translates to a lot of money in your genes that you don't have to train for, right? If you can stretch that out, if you can move that to 5 is a long time for someone to stay at a company. And if you can get to 5, that would be wonderful. So don't expect people to work for you for a lifetime, but don't not train them because you think, well, they're just going to quit, because they are going to quit, but they'll always remember that you train them and they might come back as well. Man, I think I've rambled on enough. That is enough on how to build a pipeline for your small business. I want to take the opportunity to thank you guys for listening to the Key Hire Small Business Podcast. If you got value out of today's episode and you want to keep up to date with our new content, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd appreciate that. If you prefer to listen to your podcast, you can find us on Apple. You can find us on Spotify, whatever your favorite platform is. Just search up Key Hire Small Business Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about working with Key Hire and how we can help your small business, you can schedule a meeting on our website. We're a help-first organization, and we guarantee you no selling, no weirdness, just help. Thanks for listening. I'm Corey Harlock, and until next time, stop grinding and start growing.